Your cat loves you, but not how you think. Here's the real sign.
Your cat doesn't love you the way you love them. That's not a sad thing. It's actually more interesting because the way cats experience love is completely different from what we recognize as love. And most owners spend years looking for the wrong signs, missing the real ones entirely. This video will show you exactly where to look, and what you find might surprise you more than you expect. But first, there's one thing you need to unlearn, and it's something almost every cat owner believes. When most people think about whether their cat loves them, they look for the obvious things: purring, cuddling, coming when called, sleeping on their lap. And when those things happen, they feel reassured. When they don't, when the cat walks away, sleeps in another room, or ignores them completely, doubt creeps in. But here's the problem. Every single one of those behaviors can happen for reasons that have nothing to do with love. Cats purr when they're anxious. They seek warmth, not just affection. They come when called because they've learned the sound predicts something: food, play, attention. And they sleep on laps because laps are warm and elevated and safe. None of that is love. Or rather, none of that is only love. And looking for love in those places is like trying to read a book in the wrong language. The words are there, they just don't mean what you think they mean. The real signs of love in a cat are quieter, less dramatic, easier to miss, and they only appear in moments most owners aren't paying attention to. That's what this video is actually about, not the obvious things, the hidden ones. Here's the first real sign, and it requires you to pay attention to something you've probably never noticed before. Watch what your cat does when you enter a room they're already in. Not when you call them, not when you have food, just when you walk in and go about your business. Sit down, open your laptop, pour a glass of water. What does your cat do? A cat who is merely comfortable in your presence will stay exactly where they are. They acknowledge you, maybe an ear turn, maybe a glance, and go back to whatever they were doing. That's fine. That's coexistence, but it isn't love. A cat who loves you does something different, something small. They shift. Maybe they reposition themselves slightly in your direction. Maybe they move from one side of the room to a spot a little closer to where you've settled. Maybe they don't move at all, but their body, which was facing the window, is now angled toward you. They didn't come to you, they didn't make a scene, but they adjusted, they recalibrated, because the room changed when you walked in, and they felt it. You becoming present in that space mattered to them in a way they couldn't help but respond to. That quiet, almost invisible adjustment is one of the truest things your cat will ever show you. Most owners walk right past it every single day. This one is less about what your cat does when you're active, and more about what they do when they're not. Sleep is the most vulnerable state a cat can be in. Every instinct they carry tells them to find somewhere hidden, somewhere safe, somewhere no threat can reach them. And yet, bonded cats consistently choose to sleep in proximity to their person, not because the bed is comfortable, not because it's warm, because you are there. But here's the specific thing to watch for. It's not just whether they sleep near you, it's whether they sleep facing away from the door when they're with you. In any other context, a cat positions themselves to watch the entry point. It's survival, it's instinct. But when a cat sleeps beside you with their back to the door, when they let you become the thing standing between them and whatever might come, that's the deepest form of trust a cat can show. They're not protecting themselves anymore. They're letting you do it. And the decision to hand that over, to stop guarding and just rest, is not made lightly. It's made only for the people a cat loves completely. Here's something that takes most people years to notice, and then they can't stop seeing it. Your cat knows your schedule, not approximately, precisely. They know when you wake up before your alarm goes off. They know when you're about to come home, not when they hear your car, but before. They know when you're having a bad day before you've said a word or changed your behavior in any obvious way.
This kind of knowing doesn't happen by accident. It requires sustained, focused attention over a long period of time. Your cat has been studying you, cataloging you, building an internal map of your patterns, your rhythms, your emotional states, because you matter enough to them to be worth that level of attention. Animals don't invest that kind of focus in things that don't matter to them. In the wild, they track prey, they track threats, they track the things that determine whether they live or die. When your cat tracks you, your schedule, your mood, your habits, they are placing you in that same category of importance, not as prey, not as threat, as something vital, something worth knowing completely. That is what love looks like in a cat. Not a cuddle, not a purr, a years-long, unbroken act of attention.
We've talked about subtle signs, quiet signs, signs that require patience and attention to catch. But there is one moment, one specific, unrepeatable moment that tells you more about your cat's love than anything else combined. It happens during conflict, after you've raised your voice, after you've accidentally hurt them, after a moment of tension that sent them running from the room. The question isn't whether they ran. Every cat runs from conflict. It's instinct, it's survival. It's not a reflection of the bond. The question is whether they come back, and how. A cat who merely tolerates you will return eventually when hunger or routine brings them back into the same space. They'll reappear without ceremony, eat, find their spot, move on. The conflict will have been processed as an environmental event, something that happened, nothing more. A cat who loves you comes back differently. They approach slowly. They don't go straight to their food bowl or their bed. They come toward you first. They might not make contact. They might just sit nearby, close enough to reestablish presence, far enough to preserve dignity. And then they stay. That return, that deliberate, chosen return to the person who caused the rupture, is the clearest evidence of love a cat can offer, because it costs them something. It requires them to override the instinct that says, stay away from what hurt you, and they do it anyway, for you, because whatever exists between you is worth more to them than the conflict that just happened. Watch for that return. It will tell you everything you ever needed to know. Your cat doesn't love you the way you love them. They love you the way a cat loves, quietly, specifically, and with a depth that most people never fully see because they're looking in the wrong places. They love you in the angle of their body when you walk into a room, in the direction they face when they finally let themselves sleep, in the years of attention they've given your habits and your moods without ever being asked, and in the fact that after every hard moment between you, they come back. Not because they have to, because to them you are worth coming back to. That's not nothing. That's everything.